That was the starting sound of the every single MacBook, and it's basically an Apple stuff. If you're talking about Apple stuff, you always think different. That was basically their slogan, their motto for life, I guess. I mean, if you take a look, they still think different until these days. Like literally think different than anybody else in this world. Like really, really different. But somewhat somehow, think different is not always innovative. I mean, they still think different, but they're not innovative anymore. Why? Let me explain. Well, Apple Inc. built with three men: Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and basically there's one other man called Ronald Wayne on April 1st, 1976, which is basically became the, the most failure April Fools ever, because, well, it's not joke, guys. It's not joke. It's not April Fool's joke. It's basically a successful thing. You cannot expect companies like Apple founded on April 1st and suddenly after he built up the Apple company, they built the first ever computer called Apple One, right? And then they continuously began to build up another computer. Well, in the first couple of years, maybe there's some kind of dispute with the Beatles with the name Apple. It's a whole another story, but long story short, in 1985, Steve Jobs was basically left the company that he built, Apple, and he made another company called Next, which is basically a computer software thing, that close, really that close to what he done in Apple, basically. And he also made Pixar, yes, the home of Toy Story and a couple of other animated series, I guess. Well, maybe Pixar put some different motivations, I guess. And I thought Pixar will be acquired by Apple, but Apple at the time, they didn't have any idea to make a content like Apple TV Plus, like what we have in these days. Instead, they sold out to Disney. But hey, long story short, after 12 years of the resignations in 85, which is basically in 1997, he came back again to the company. But Apple, in this time, when he came back, was on the downfall, nearly on the downfall, maybe on the way to all-time low, basically. And it was some kind of controversial at the time when Microsoft, which basically the arch rival, was too powerful, way too powerful. And then to avoiding the antitrust issue and monopolies issues that has been going on with Microsoft at the time, Bill Gates agrees with Steve Jobs that made agreements, to make Internet Explorer entering the MacBooks and became the default search engine. And also they doing with, another Microsoft stuff, basically like Office and so forth, yada. In early 2000s, when the music was basically still dominated with the physical thing, like physical CDs or physical VCDs, physical cassettes, Apple launched iTunes and iPod, which is basically two things that start the revolutionize of the music industry. I'm not saying it's revolutionized, but it starts the revolutionize, because at the time, few years after that, it started a Spotify AB, which is basically a Swedish company that has a different approach if you compare to iTunes, right? But it's still a music platform. But in this case, Spotify is basically a music streaming, whereas iTunes, until these days, is music store. Like you brought out some albums from your local music store. It's like that, but it's online. That's why it's called iTunes. And iPod is basically the device that has been created to play the music, basically. Import your music from your iTunes on your laptop or MacBook or iMac, whatever, you know. You import it to iPod, you know. And at the time, even Walkman cannot do that. That's why it's so revolutionary. It's also started to revolutionize the way we consume our music on your phone, right? On your smartphones. It started also with the iPod, you know. And speaking about phones, at that time, early 2000s, maybe around until 2005 and 6, if you talk about smartphone, it's always like, you know, you had a screen, little screen, tiny little screen. You have a small VGA camera in front of you. Not in front of, back or rear your phone, you know. And you had a keyboard and also a mouse or a pointer, or, you know, like little mouse, you know. Like if you have a BlackBerry, there's like a mouse for, you know, pointing you to choose some kind of options that you want to choose. And also the shape of the phone, basically, it was unique, like literally really unique. There's like a standard, like a Nokia 3310, you know, and then it followed with another phone at the time, like Siemens and so many brands, you know, like, or there's like a Nokia N-Gage, which is basically a gaming phone. Yes, even in the early 2000s, there is a gaming phone called Nokia N-Gage, and it was undoubtedly and officially, and I can declare, shit, my cable just pops up, and I can declare the first gaming phone ever, like made for gaming phone, you know what I'm saying? Like you see, there's like a ROG phone, Black Shark phone, another phone basically that for gaming focus, right? And you have Nokia N-Gage in the past, you know. And also there's like foldable phone, you know, flipping phone, and then you have a sliding phone, and then you have like all things mechanical creativeness, mechanical to creative madness in the past, you know. But then in 27, Steve Jobs announced a major groundbreaking things in the phone industry. Basically, it's iPhone. He launched an iPhone in 27, and at the time it was still 2G. It's not 3G, it's 2G. 3G is on the 3GS, but it's also start a new era of mobile phone. And then years later, it became not just mobile phone but also smartphone, because it goes ways beyond just mobile phones, you know. It's not the mobile feature phone era anymore. It's now a mobile smartphone. It also started at 27. It was innovation that really revolutionary, you know, like iPod or iTunes, you know, it's also revolutionary. And Apple is also made Siri, which is basically a first voice command, like a massive voice command in a smartphone or in a mobile device, you know. And they made it in around 2013, I guess, if I didn't mistaken. Around 2013, they made Siri, and it also, after they made Siri, the others also following. So, like Google, they have a Google Assistant. Amazon, they have, because I can say the word because I literally worried it could trigger your entire house. So I say the word and I like, you know, but I just put the words right here. This is the Amazons. Or Microsoft at the past also created Cortana, not Corona, but Cortana. You know, Cortana. Remember the last 4 letters, T-A-N-A, Cortana, not Corona. Right? Okay, cool. And even Samsung made their own, right? In 2018, around 2018 or 17, when Samsung Galaxy S8 was launched, its assistant, voice assistant, is also launched in the same year as the Galaxy S8. You know, it was revolutionary for voice commands in Siri. You know, yeah, innovative. You know, something innovative. They implement Touch ID. Yeah, it's also innovative and revolutionary because from Touch ID you can find a in-display fingerprint scanner. You can find a side button fingerprint scanner. You can find so many fingerprint things. Even on your absence, on your workplace or on your school place, you can sign, you know, the fingerprints to the absences, you know, to the present or absent or like, you know, a little bit late. Using that, you know, you tap in, done. Face ID, although it's not that revolutionary, but it's kind of innovative. You put the infrared in front of your face and it also detects all sides of your face, which is basically a cool thing because at the time their rivals like Samsung, you know, they just scan in eyes, right? I mean, like at the time Samsung still has iris scanner. Iris scanner. Yeah, it's good old days, I guess. You know, it's pretty innovative. I say pretty because it's not that innovative that much, but it's still okay. You know, it's still okay to consider innovative. And also notch. It's kind of weird to say it's innovative, but yeah, they can be innovative. I mean, like design wise, you know, Apple always innovative design wise, especially with the notch. I never expect they made a notch in 2017, to be honest, with iPhone X launch, you know. But I feel Apple is not that innovative anymore. Well, it's still game changing, you know, in the market. They still a game changer, but it's not that means you also innovative in the same time. Let me explain. Because if you take a look at iPhone 7, you know, that was the first phone ever to not have a headphone jack, the 3.5 millimeters jack audio. There's no such a thing in iPhone 7 when it released in 2016. Yeah, all people was like mad and freaking out. It was like, what the hell is going on? But then other brands is also following suit. Even Samsung also, you know, the arch rival, has the phone, maybe the first Samsung phone who doesn't have a headphone jack in their flagship line, which is the Note 10 that released in last year, 2019, you know. and it didn't even mention at the keynote. I still remember Samsung didn't mention that we removed the headphone jack from Note 10. You know, I still remember that. Hey, Samsung, got you, boo. But it's not that innovative. It's game changer, but it's not innovative because, yeah, you can say, oh, I can make the AirPods or things like that. It's just like substitutions, you know. AirPod is basically a substitutions thing to replace, you know. Whereas innovative is something that you never expect it came before, you know, like iTunes, you know, you never expect. I was like, oh damn, you never expect it came before, you know. But headphone jack was like, okay, we're lost in this one, but just gotta change it to the wireless one. I mean, it's not innovative. I mean, AirPods, although it's cool, but it's not that revolutionary. I mean, honestly speaking, it's not. And also, since Steve Jobs passed away in October 5th, 2011, and it's switched the CEOs or the commander-in-chief in Apple's to Tim Cook, which is basically the current CEO, I think the business or the company's plan in general is shifting, you know. I mean, in Steve Jobs' era, you can see all those creative madness, revolutionary ideas, but then Tim Cook came and he wants this Apple to become a business and money approach, which is not a wrong thing. Still, it's not a wrong thing because, well, it's a business. I mean, like, you gain a capital, right? It's a business game. It's not a problem. The only problem is when you do the business, but at the same time, especially in the technology world, you didn't innovate too much. Because if you see competitors these days, like Samsung, they made a foldable phone that sells higher than your iPhone 12 Pro Max, but it still seems really freaking cool. The device itself, let's just take a look at the recent one, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 2. It was a cool device. I'm not gonna lie, it was a cool device to have, to hold, to experience, to feel. Damn, when I saw the device, I was like, damn, one day I can get this for sure, because it's so cool. And you know what, if you brought out the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 2, you can still get the charger and also the earphones, which is basically something that you didn't have in this year's iPhone. This year's iPhone, you have 4 iPhones, right? 12 mini, 12 Pro, 12 Pro Max, all just have the cables, like the cables for the chargers. It's just it. There's no like the connector, like the head charger, I call it, there's no, the earphones, which is like, well, this is not the Apple's earphones, but like this is earphones still, right? You can get on, like, you brought out the Samsung phones, but this year's Apple and this year's iPhone was basically you didn't get majority of those, just the cable and your phone, just it. I mean, like, you are crazy, Apple. I mean, like, if you didn't include the jack audio converter, I mean, it's okay. I already dealt with it, we already dealt with it. We already brought out some new USB-C cable jack audio stuffs, or you already bought a wireless headphone stuff, right? We already used to it. We already deal with it. But this one, please, Team Apple, why you do this? Why you do this? I just don't know what's inside your head. I mean, like, it's not of it's not because of your business approach. No, it's because of your ridiculous ideas to remove that kind of thing that also necessary to people that has an Apple phone or iPhone. It's just why you did that, Apple. And the final thing, you know you know the final thing about why Apple is not that innovative anymore, it's because they're too exclusive. Yes, I mean, in terms of price, in terms of the ecosystem, they're in terms of, yeah, basically price and ecosystem. It's like they're too exclusive. That's why they're not that innovative too much these days. So in verdict, basically, why Apple is not that innovative anymore, because they lost its soul after Steve Jobs passed away, and maybe its soul and its directions, I guess. The two is basically they literally really focus on the business approach without any concern, like heavy concern throughout the creative madness that Steve Jobs has, in the past. And the third is basically way too exclusive. Apple is way too exclusive, so that's why they didn't that innovative anymore these days. Yeah. Top Mini or SE? Regarding to your money that you have, right? But if you get SE, it's okay. If you want to get the 12 Mini, it's okay. I kind of like the design though. It's like 5-4, but mixed with the 11. It's unique, and in such a small form factor. I like this one.